This is the Ezra breakdown, not for the main event, Canelo vs. Charlo. I already did that. You should be caught up with that. I already did a full breakdown prediction for that one. This is for the undercard. And I don't usually do undercards. I usually only do the fights that I feel like people are going to be interested in viewing a breakdown for, right? The big names, big fights. But you know what? I think this card deserves it. I think this is the best card. Like pre-fight grade, right? And what I think is the most important thing for a promoter and for a network is the pre-fight grade. That's the most important thing when you make a card. And I think this is an A++. This is a great card, and I feel like that if you're gonna watch, a lot of people gonna watch this fight, I think it's good to have some. I think what makes a fight really interesting to watch, right, is have some background on it, right? Have some feel of what's gonna happen, or maybe you have an idea of what you think might happen, or what people are saying, and it builds up the fight and it gets you excited to see how it plays out. So that's what I'm gonna do for the undercard of this fight. Now let's start off with the first fight on the main card. We have Elijah Garcia versus Jose Resendez. Now Elijah Garcia is, you know, a breath of fresh air breath of fresh air in the middleweight division, right? He is young, right, like 20 years old, and he's taking challenges like beating Vidal, who was a tough challenge no one's probably going to take when they're only 18 to 19 years old, right, to fight that guy. And to pull off a tough win like that, and in a fight that, you know, he was taking damage, and a fight that he showed composure, he showed maturity in the second half of the fight to take control of it and get the stoppage. Then they put him in right after that into the Ryan Garcia because it was a good opportunity, the Ryan Garcia tank fight. But I think you saw a little bit of his age, right? And you saw that he was getting rushed along a little bit, and it was fighting an opponent that was not as good as Vidal, but he was showing that he was getting hit a lot in that fight. He was having difficulty. It wasn't as sharp as a performance. I think that was an age moment, right? I think that was a growth moment, but yet there was something where they had to see that he kind of had to pump the brakes a little bit. You know, he's still just kid, still growing into his body, and taking all this damage, right? Even if they're maybe not from the biggest punchers, but still taking damage, it's adding up. He might slip up, right? And that slip up might lose his confidence. He's fighting a guy, Resendez, who could give a guy like him problems, right? A young guy like him coming up, a guy who Elijah Garcia likes to come forward, and Resendez has no problem coming forward either. And he's a guy that throws a lot of punches, and he's coming off his best win, which is going to give him a lot of confidence, beating Jared Hurt. Now, I think a lot of people are going to think that Resendez is going to be very, very, very tough in this fight, which he might be, right? He might be very game, and I think people are thinking that Elijah Garcia is biting off more than he could chew. But the truth is that Resendez beat a washed Jared Hurt. That's the truth. He beat a Jared Hurt that no longer has it, and no longer wasn't in the weight class he was ever really effective in, and really can't get going like he used to, and is taking too much damage over his career now. So that win, although, you know, an upset and builds confidence in is might be a little bit of not what it may out to be, right? That might not be as much of a point that he could stand on as far as how good he really is in that fight. So I believe Elijah Garcia is going to be really effective coming forward in this fight. And the thing about Elijah Garcia is he's southpaw, and he's good at keeping his range, right? He's good at putting range pressure on you. But he's also just good at working, right? He keeps his range so he can stay working. So when he's putting it on you, he's adjusting, but so he can stay punching. He's never smothering, and he's never too far out. Now, when you keep range like that, you're gonna get hit, and he does get hit. What he's good at is maybe blocking the first two, right? And then he gets kind of stuck in this position where he's moving his head. Now, if you throw multiple shots and he loses his guard, you know, he might block 1, 2, and then he kind of loses his guard trying to be a little slick. You throw 2, 3, and 4, you're gonna catch him, and you're gonna start hitting him. Now, he has good legs and he has athleticism, and for being a pressure fighter, I think that's one thing that kind of the game's missing a little bit right now in boxing, is having athletic pressure fighters. Pressure fighters that are loose, they have good feet, they can adjust, they have good upper body movement, and he has some of these things. But he's not gonna dance around the ring, and he's not gonna be able to pull out of spots, right? So what I mean by not pulling out spots is he's putting pressure on you. Now you attack. Okay, he takes one step back and he's blocking here, but he's gonna get stuck here. He's not gonna be able to jump out, move to her spot really quickly. No, he has one step in him. So it's important to him to keep range, so that one step really gets him out of range, right? If I'm keeping perfect range to punch, and I'm keeping at the end of my stuff, then I only need one step away to get away from the action. Now, a guy like Resendez, who jumps in and throws multiple shots and not afraid to get hit, he could be a problem for a guy like Elijah Garcia. He can get shots in on Elijah Garcia, who gets stuck. Now, I think Elijah Garcia usually starts a little bit with turbulence, right? He starts in a competitive fight because he has a come forward style, and the guy's fresh, and he's gonna look to trade shots with that guy. So you're gonna see him maybe struggle with this fight early. Now in the middle portions, he tends to get more comfortable. And as he gets more comfortable in the fight, he tends to start taking advantage of it as far as like distance, as far as seeing what the guy's doing and being able to read it more. And also, you know, he's applying a lot of pressure, so the guy's going to begin to slow down, right? The guys usually can't keep up with that kind of pace. Now, Resendez might be a guy that... All right, okay, I interrupted on the first video, but where we left off was Resendez might be able to keep up with that kind of pace. He might be able to stay aggressive and walk through, you know, a lot of damage, right? He might be able to walk through shots, but I do think that he is just not on the skill level, right? And he is straight up, and he is going to take a lot of shots. I do think that no matter how tough he is, there will be a pace slowdown in this. I think the shot's just going to be too precise. The range kept by Elijah Garcia will just it'll begin to add up, and it'll be able to he'll be able to see more of what's coming at him, and over time he's going to run away with this fight. I think this fight is going to go to decision. I think it's going to be a good competitive fight early. I think Elijah Garcia is going to show his talent separation in the second half of it. And the whole point, I think, when we leave it here, Elijah Garcia is he's going to be, you know, a promising guy at middleweight. But the thing is, it's like, how much damage is he going to take? Is he going to be able to have maybe fuller performances where it's like you know, doesn't have those shaky moments in the first part, right? Doesn't have the shaky moments in the first half of the fight, and just kind of have like one complete performance where he just, you know, shows a separation of talent. The fighting style might not really have allow that, but we're gonna see, right? And I think Resendez is the perfect guy to figure that out at this point. The next fight we go to is Lubin versus Jesus Ramos, which is an excellent matchup. It's a perfect time for both guys. Honestly, like, if you want to see Lubin right here, this is his chance to stay in the picture with the big guys, the main guys, right? It's his opportunity to show that he's still a threat at 154 and even 160 pounds. And Jesus Ramos, this is like his coming out party, right? You had the fight with Joey Spencer, but him and Joey Spencer were kind of like two young guys trying to prove they were going to the next thing. But a win over Lubin is him proving that he's ready to enter the conversation with all the top guys at 154 pounds. Now, Lubin is a dangerous fighter, and what I was thinking when I was watching their fight is that Jesus Ramos reminds me of where Lubin used to be in his career when Lubin was 21, and he had all the confidence in the world, and he wasn't second guessing anything, and he hadn't faced failure yet, and he hadn't really faced that much pushback yet. He was willing to try anything. You know, he didn't have to second guess any of his offense, his defense. He didn't second guess anything because he just had full confidence. Well, Jesus Ramos is at that point now. He has not faced much pushback, right? Everything pretty much he's done in the ring has worked. And he fights like that. He fights like everything works. He fights like he believes in his defense. He fights like he believes in his offense. He fights like he believes everything he does in there. There's no second guessing. Now, Lubin in his career has faced failure now, right? When he was 21, he fought Charlo, and Charlo put him to sleep, right? He has been hurt by guys. He's been stopped by Fundora. So, he is in the position now as the veteran that knows failure, and he doesn't have the style that he once had, where he would take a lot of chances. It's actually more of a controlled style. It's not as you could tell that he second guesses a lot of things in there, but he still hits really hard. He still can place his shots very well. When he's able to fight at range, he's very dangerous. He still has power. Now, can he take the damage? Right? I don't think so. I don't think he could take that damage. And I think that Jesus Ramos, you know, when he comes forward and is aggressive and is really just letting his offense go, I think that's when he's the most effective. Now, when he fought Santa Maria, he did struggle in that fight. And maybe people could look at that and be like, well, maybe Lubin could do something like that. But the problem with Santa Maria, he moved around the ring. Now, and I don't think Jesus Ramos really struggled that much as far as it just didn't look like the other fights. But Santa Maria was able to keep him off him. But if you notice that in that fight, there was a lot of leg movement. Now, I don't really think Lubin is a leg movement type of guy. He's more of like keep distance, pinpoint shot, take a step back guy. But he often gets stuck in position. And he's not as creative with his guard anymore. He's not as trustworthy with his like reflexes. So he's kind of got a basic guard, and he doesn't have a high work rate. I think even if they get in a tentative battle, in like a boxing match, if Jesus Ramos starts getting the negative end of it, he will automatically fall back into an aggressive style, and that style is going to beat Lubin. So whether Jesus Ramos starts with the aggressive style to come out, where I think that he, could be a very interesting fight early, eventually he will, because Lubin in all his fights kind of showed this, will get caught, and Jesus Ramos will catch him, and Jesus Ramos will break him down and get him out of there. Or if he comes out kind of tentative, looking to box, looking to kind of test his skills against Lubin, in a fight that I think Lubin will have good moments in, eventually the fight will be too close, or Lubin will take advantage of it. Jesus Ramos is still going to fall back into that aggressive style, and then he's going to eventually break down Lubin and catch him and get him out of there, because Lubin has been hurt pretty much by most of his opponents he's fought recently, besides his last one. Right? And if you look at the Rosario fight, where a fight that he got, hurt in that fight, he caught Rosario to the body, which Rosario has a glass body, we know that, and that kind of, got him out of that situation. But like I said, Ramos we don't know if he has anything like that. We don't know, he hasn't really been tested like that to know if he has a glass chin, glass body, or some weakness that is going to be Lubin's going to be able to capitalize on in this fight. And if it goes in that way, right, and Rosario has full confidence and able to pull the pressure, I think he's going to pull away with this fight. And I don't think Lubin's going to be able to withstand it. It's a perfect crossroads fight. It's a perfect fight to, the next guy's he's going to move on to a real big name at the top of the 154-pound division. And the guy that loses this is going to, have to, like, if it comes to Lubin, that might be all she wrote, right? You have to think that he had multiple chances at top, and now he's fighting an upcomer, and that guy beat him. Probably not going to get another chance, right? And if you're Jesus Ramos, you have to rethink your whole career, be a giant halt like Lubin had ran into when he fought Charlo. I got Jesus Ramos in this fight. I'm going to get him by stoppage. Later in the fight, maybe the 8th or 9th round, I think he gets a stoppage in this fight. Now, we go to the fight that I'm most sure about, right? Like I said, I give these predictions, I give these breakdowns, but, the fights I'm not going to be perfect on these, right? And you don't know what exact strategy these guys are going to use. I'm just thinking of what they've done before. I'm trying to fit it into what it could look like if these guys match up. But I feel pretty confident in this one. And that's Ugas versus Barrios. But when I talk to people that I respect and they talk boxing all the time, there's a lot of people telling me that they feel like Barrios can win this fight. I don't see it. Now, why I don't see it is because the range and where Barrios fights at and how he fights really favors Ugas. I think Ugas is better at that range. And this is like a mid-range type fight, right? And Barrios is a guy that has to be set. He's not a guy, if you make Barrios reset, he's got to move and then reset and get a position. And Ugas, if he can fight at mid-range, and that allows him to see where your shots are coming from, he has a pretty good guard. And he's pretty good at picking shots in that range. Now, where Ugas could run in trouble is where you could get on the inside of him, right? And when you're on the inside of him, he doesn't have the same vision as he has in him, and he really loses himself. He loses his guard. His guard isn't as effective. And then also he will exchange with you, right, on the inside. And that's where he leaves a lot of openings with it when he punches. So if Barrios can get on the inside, which is not really his game, and force Ugas, to fight on the inside, and Ugas will lose his guard, and then Barrios will show some power that I don't really seen consistently from him, maybe he could be effective in this fight. But I think he gets stuck in mid-range. And I think that Ugas' guard is going to be able to see everything he has coming in front of him because it's perfect range to see it. And he's going to pick him apart. And I think he's going to win a wide decision in this fight. But like I said, why I think this fight most interests me is because people I respect are saying Barrios is going to win. A lot of people are saying that Barrios is going to win, or Barrios is going to be competitive, or it's going to be a competitive fight. And I don't see that. So this is like I said, I hope it's like enlightenment for me, right? It's like I'm going to learn something in this fight. I'm missing something huge, and when I rewatch it, I'll be like, oh, okay, here we go. This is what I missed, and I got to learn. So sometimes you need to learn things. Sometimes you need to be wrong so you can rethink everything you thought you knew. And maybe that's what this fight is. That's what excites me about this fight. I don't think Barrios could pull it off, but maybe Barrios is going to do something that I don't expect from him, right? I haven't really seen, Barrios seems to me to be a name because he fought names, right? He fought Tank Davis, and he was somewhat competitive, but everyone's kind of competitive with Tank Davis. It's a weird thing where, like, Tank kind of gives you some moments in the early rounds. Tank's kind of like a pro wrestler that, like, is so good that he's going to let you land a few things in there, right? To kind of build you up. He's so good that he can kind of build you up. That's what kind of Tank is. And so everyone that fights him, right, is kind of like in a better spot because they have little moments against Tank. So Barrios had that. Now, he fought Thurman, and that fight wasn't close until he got landed a body shot, made it a little bit shaky at one point. So he leaves little moments in these fights to kind of leave people having faith in him. And people are saying, well, he's only losing to the best. Well, that's because he's only really fought the best recently. He went from, Cowboy Carl to Tank Davis, right? And then from Tank Davis to Keith Thurman. And then he had a tuna fight. And I don't think people are that high on Ugas, but I think Ugas has some skills. I think he's a little bit better than the middle of the pack. You know what I mean? He's like the top of the middle of the pack, I guess, 154 pounds. 47 pounds. I can't see this fight, like I said, being close, but we're going to see. So I just wanted to break down this undercard because when you're invested in a fight, you have a little bit of backstory, a little bit of what to expect, it makes you more interested. I think that's the key to being interested in a fight. I think that's why when people bet, they have some skin in the game, right? Or, these YouTubers, right? People aren't watching these because they think, oh, this is high-level boxing. They're watching it because they know the guys. You get familiar with them. So when you watch something and people are telling you how this fight should play out or what could happen in this fight, now you are interested and you are invested. And that's what I hope I did today. Like I said, go watch my other clip where I did the full breakdown for Charlo Canelo with a prediction. And hit the like and subscribe. This has been the Ezra breakdown. And kind of a walk and talk on the same thing because I got interrupted. It's a nice little special thing to do this week. Deuces.